Welcome back. I'm James Johnson. This is my lovely mother, LaDonna, and we've read the first 5 books of the Song of Ice and Fire series, seen the first 7 seasons, and the 8th season starts in a week and a half. We talk about theories with Game of Thrones, ones that we've come up with and are particularly fond of through our discussions. We know that we can't be guaranteed to be correct, and that's really not the point. Our point is to discuss possibilities, particularly ones we think are most possible. This particular episode is called Dany's Child. My mom is probably not going to agree with me wholeheartedly on this. At least we'll see. So I just want a lot of what I talk about in this is stuff for other videos that you need to buy into in order to get the ultimate point. So view this as a potential ending, not as the ending, how one of the infinite different ways that this book could end. So Dany and Jon had a child. Dany and Jon had sex. It's been built up that Dany can't have a child, but Dany's going to get pregnant from Jon. I want to give enough information so that y'all have context, but not enough so that I'm going too far off topic. So we are going to find out that Dany and Jon are twins, which makes that child an incestuous child, just like Cersei and Jaime's children, particularly Joffrey, whose behavior, at least impliedly, was a result of the incest. And incest is something that we all think creates abominations. I'm going to put that aside. Dany allegedly had a child previously that had a dragon's tail and skin sloughing off its bones.
Grave worms inside of it.
So that is its own version of an abomination.
Although I think it was a lie. But
there's also the shadow baby, which by involving some kind of mystical aspect, a child is born that is its own abomination. And what I want to move to from that is you got to buy in. I'm right, in my opinion. I say that half jokingly, but I do think that this is going to happen, but I know that I don't know. Dany is going to end up joining the Night's King. I'm going to make a whole new video about it. Y'all don't need to worry about it in this video, so just buy in for the sake of this video. Dany is going to join the Night's King. In joining the Night's King, in order to make her immortal and permanently connected to it, she's going to have a dragon glass dagger plunged into her heart. It is a wedding ceremony of a sort, but that will turn her. Now she is turned. She appears as a White Walker sort of creature with blue eyes, violet eyes, glowing eyes. She's pregnant. At the end of the final battle, Dany will be pregnant with a child while Dany has been turned. Dany has previously had a child that came out allegedly deformed. The child is a product of incest, and for every possible reason, I'm going to add this one too, which y'all are going to have problems with. So again, buy in. The Night's King is a warg, a green seer, and can thus move his mind into other creatures, just like Varamir tried to do in the prologue chapter where he tried to move his mind into another human to live on in their life. And just like Bran can arguably do by putting his mind into Hodor. So when the Night's King / Dany dies, that whole war is ended. There's going to be the potential. Where would the Night's King go? If Dany and the Night's King are together and Dany is pregnant with a child and both Dany and the Night's King are killed, the Night's King will try to put his mind into that baby, which is the Omen. It's Daniel? What's the name of that child? David? Damien. It's Damien. It's an abomination because it's incestuous. Its mother was turned into a White Walker. The child that Dany had previously was supposed to be deformed in a horrific way. And you also add the magic sort of situation with the White Walker dragon glass to wonder if this is going to be some kind of shadow baby thing. The purpose of all of this, and the reason why I think this is so important, is because one of the main cruxes of this entire story is the death of children. Bran got pushed out the window. Robert's bastards got murdered in their beds, babies, etc. The death of children is extremely important to the storyline. And when However,
Targaryens got killed.
the Targaryen babes got killed. When, in my opinion, John, but when somebody comes to Dany's recently deceased pregnant body, having been killed at the end of this, that child will be birthed, whether through natural occurrences or because it's cut out. John, it has to be John, is faced with a choice before this child is born. Do I kill it? Because it could be an abomination for every possible reason. It could be a White Walker, and it could be the second coming. The second coming. Hardly are those words out when a vast image out of Spiritus Mundi troubles my sight. Somewhere in sands of the desert, a shape with lion body, the head of a man, a gaze blank and pitiless as the sun is moving its slow thighs, while all about it real shadows of the indignant desert birds. You cannot ever blame a child for the sins of their fathers. A child is a tabula rasa of a sort, not entirely, but you cannot blame a child. And that is my point. That the purpose of having Dany's deformed child previously, the purpose of having the shadow baby, the purpose of the incest being touted as possibly a reason for Joffrey being so masochistic and cruel. Dany's child is intended, Dany and Jon's child is intended to be a representation of, even in the worst circumstances, you can never blame a child. That child gets cut out and adopted, slashed, either treated as his own child by Jon and adopted by his queen, or adopted by whoever ends up with the child. And I don't want to go too in depth because I'm going to tell you shit that you're going to disagree with in this own video, which is the Sansa's going to end up with Jon, which you completely disagree with.
Absolutely disagree.
But anyway, Dany's child, Damien, children are very important.
Okay, again, this is one scenario that might happen. If I'm to go down this road, and I'm not sure it isn't going to happen this way, because there are a lot of narrative threads in these books that look like we are heading right to that. I want to point out that, and this could just be hype, but I don't think so at this point, when the actor and actresses read the final script, they said they truly were shocked. And I think they were truly shocked, because I don't think a lot of people saw this coming.
Not this particular video, just all of the things.
All of the things pointing to a birth of a child. You know, we've talked about the stallion that mounts the world, the prince or princess that was promised, prophecy. This is very similar to The Omen. I mean, it is also similar to the old Godwin's Law argument, should somebody have killed Hitler's baby?
Hitler as a baby.
Hitler as a baby. And I don't think Martin's going to go into it very simplistically. This is extremely complex. It also goes back to the fact that Ned Stark could have thrown Jon Snow into a river and went back home to Winterfell. He could have killed Jon. And if Dany is indeed his twin, as we could be wrong, but if we're fairly certain that she is, and we'll go back to the Tower of Joy and find out. But Ned abandoned one of those children because they weren't able to pass as a Stark. I mean, how are you going to take a silver-haired, violet-eyed baby back home to Winterfell and say she's not a Targ? If they're twins, it made sense for him to do a Sophie's Choice and save Jon Snow, who looked like a Stark, and try to send Dany back to people who looked more like Targs in a different area. Leave that alone. Doesn't matter if you agree with me or not. If we stick with this theory about Dany, James's initial premise means that she has to jump ship. She goes
We're going to make a whole other video about that, so you don't need to worry about going.
Well, I just want to make one point. If she jumps ship to go to the Night's King, I want to point out 5 or 6 things she's already done that we just kind of rolled with.
We are going to make a whole nother video on Dany and switching teams. So that's not what this video is about.
Okay.
It's about her child.
Okay, if we're going to leave it there, just remember in the next video, she switched teams a whole lot. if you go back and look at it.
Please don't.
And I'm not. And as anybody who hadn't watched our videos before, the second coming portion of that poem is from William Butler Yeats, an Irish poet. And it is the second coming. Take a look at it now, because we think it has something to do with the show. So we'll see.
Good.
Good.
Thank y'all for watching.